Hey Rangers, today we're back with another review, and this time it's Pokemon the movie, I Choose You. So many thoughts on this one, so we're going to talk about everything that I came up with, and I've probably missed some stuff off this one. But yeah, I've been wanting to see this, and I have, so let's talk about it. Originally, this was meant to be an anniversary of Ash, becoming a Pokemon trainer and then obviously progressing, a retelling of things. But then it was brought out that it's another dimension. It's nothing like the one that he's in currently. I'm so glad because, oh boy, were there some things that I was kind of not happy about, some things I was happy about. So it starts with Ash. He basically does everything normally. Misty and Brock are not in this whatsoever. And Ash sees Ho-Oh for the first time and gets the Rainbow Wing. And obviously now it's his journey to actually find Ho-Oh so he can have a match with him. And that's it, pretty much, that's it. So Ash goes to meet Professor Oak, and Professor Oak gives him his first Pokemon. Now you see the trainers, Gary, and then you see the two other people that you never see in the anime, as far as I know. You never see them from Palette Time. So it's kind of nice to actually see these characters. Ash meets Verity and Sorrel. I think his name's Sorrel. He says it in a very quickly, so I wasn't able to pick up his name properly anyway. So he meets them, and then obviously then they go off and find Ho-Oh. And yeah, it's a very kind of weird anime, but it's very kind of the same that we'd expect. So yeah. So there were no special features on this DVD, and I was really gutted. Mainly because I thought there would be. I thought there would be something there, like a brief history of Pokemon, or maybe an interview with the voice actors, what their thoughts are, etc, etc, but there was nothing, and I was very kind of disappointed on this one. Let's talk about the animation. So the animation in this one was actually really decent. I actually generally liked it. It did the same sort of fight scenes that we saw in X and Y, where it's not just a pan shot or it's like a static shot all the time. Like, they would move really quickly, they would dodge in and out, and it would come at different angles, and I really liked this. The style was always throughout, that it didn't change suddenly or it didn't go down a different route later on. So the animation was a breath of fresh air, and I kind of think this animation should have been the style that they kept when obviously they went into the new anime, which was, I think, Sun and Moon, which is a completely different thing. I don't really like the animation for that one. But in this film, the animation stayed positive, and it was kind of bright at times. There was lots of different attacks. I really liked the use of how Pikachu's electricity worked, even from the very beginning to the very end. And yeah, I kind of really dug it. When it came to certain parts of the film, it reminded me very similar to all the other films, and this is what kind of bored me. I saw multiple elements from the series as well as from Pokemon the first movie, and I feel like everything was kind of jammed in together, and I didn't really like it that much. It was very fast paced. You weren't able to kind of keep up at times. It was like, here is Ash, boom, he's doing something now, boom, there's someone else, boom, let's get these Pokemon, boom, 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 boom. There was so much there that kind of really made me go, oh. And even though the very beginning of it, where it's doing the Pokemon theme tune, and you see Ash and Pikachu playing, I kind of really liked that. But then again, it didn't really kind of tell a story. It was just like, oh, you're having fun. Oh, look, there's Caterpie. Suddenly Caterpie is attacking Ash. And suddenly Pikachu is going towards Caterpie. Those little things kind of were okay at times, but most of it, when it was kind of boring, I just went, oh. And I paid attention, but I kind of stopped at the same time when I could have done something else. But the animation itself wasn't too bad. So they kind of redid a few of the shots, and they kept the same sort of thing. So when Ash is going and dreaming about being a Pokemon trainer, he's in the same pajamas. When he's out in the forest with Pikachu, it's the same sort of style that he had in the actual anime itself. And I kind of really dug this, and I kind of really didn't at the same time, because obviously a lot of stuff had changed. One of the kind of biggest moments in the first series was when Pikachu is talking to Caterpie, and Caterpie saying, I basically want to evolve, I want it to be something different. But then this time it was shared with Ash. And obviously the whole animation with Charmander, that was completely different. The whole scenario was different. And I just felt like out of all the Pokemon, Ash only had 3. I didn't like that. I thought he would have more. So let's talk about the writing. Now this is where I'm going to be talking the most about what my kind of feels and thoughts about this is. Most of it was fine, but near the end, it got kind of really boring. It faded into generic Pokemon movie where it's like Ash is like, he's doing something, and then all of a sudden it's all about friendship. And I understand Pokemon has been about friendship. It's been about that for all the time. But in the first series, it wasn't about friendship. It was, but it wasn't kind of forced on you. Like, I want to be the best friends to all the Pokemon. You know, it's all about friendship. It's all about this. You know, I'm always going to make sure that I'm friends with the Pokemon because that's all I want. Friendship, friendship, friendship. It wasn't kind of forced down your throat every 5 seconds. And I think that in this film, it did kind of force down friendship down your throat. Like, I'm sorry, I'm full. I don't need any more. Just eat the friendship. Just imagine that now. So it goes from like, the story begins, Ash needs to teach a lesson, the lesson is delivered, the lesson is not learned, and then at the very end, the lesson is learned. And this, I kind of think, needs to change in the films, because it's now getting to the point where it's just samey all the time. And, you know, I like Pokemon, I've grown up with Pokemon, but I just, when I look at the films, I want a different approach now. I want Team Rocket to win for once, or, you know, I want something completely different from the franchise. Now, I did like some of the elements of where they took Ash and put him in a dream world. And this was the same of when he actually wanted to become a Pokemon master. He goes to school, you know, no one knows about Pokemon, but then Pikachu is so important to him that he sees this, and then he becomes friends, and then, you know, it kind of reminded me back of the episode where they all went to Pokemon school and they had to learn something, and that kind of like, that's what it kind of reminded me of. When you first saw this whole initial sequence, you kind of thought, oh, okay. As soon as you saw the car poster, you instantly thought, yeah, I know where this is going. But again, it was kind of implemented really, really well. And then when Ash wakes up, everyone's around him. He hugs Pikachu because he's originally just turned around. And I've got to admit, Ash is probably the dickish I've seen to Pikachu, where he's just like, I kind of really wish I chose Charmander, Bulbasaur, Squirtle. And Pikachu's like, whoa, 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 what the hell? And then suddenly he becomes friends. I think it's just the worst thing that Ash could have said. And that's another element that the film tried to play on you. It tried to pull the heartstrings of what you experienced in the first season. Now, one thing I genuinely thought was a complete waste was Team Rocket. Every single time I see a film, either they get knocked away, they are just there in the background, so you remember them. But in theory, you don't particularly need Team Rocket anymore. The way that this film planned out, I generally wanted Team Rocket to be in this. And this is one thing I wrote down and added to it. But originally I wanted to see this film as Ash picks up Pikachu. Then obviously you see the progression. He meets Misty, Brock. And then obviously it goes through the gyms properly as like a kind of, not recap, but like kind of a retelling. So it's not like the original anime. So he always wins. Because you see that when he gets the Rainbow Badge. You know, he beats, I think it's Erica, straight away. And he gets the Rainbow Badge. I kind of wanted to see that all the way through. And obviously Team Rocket having a major part where they fight him for the first time. But this, like, when watching it, you see, I think it's Variety. She's like, oh, who are they? And Nurse Joy says, oh, that's Team Rocket. You know, they are Pokemon thieves. They're all about. And you see them. And from what I remember of the original anime, is that they're there at like Cerulean City. You know, they come in. Is it Cerulean City or Viridian City? I can't remember which one it is, like where they have that fight with all the Pikachus as well. But anyway, I'm going off on one. So it feels like they're introduced to it, and then they're kind of like, oh, we're going to sneak about, we're going to steal all the Pokemon, and then they don't. You don't see them. You don't really see them interacting. They blast off really quickly, and then again later on when they come to Ho-Ho, it's just they're knocked away. And I generally think that you could have just cut them out and had a reference to them and said, hey, here is Jesse and James and Meowth, they're Team Rocket, and we're like, all right, we'll look out. And then you never see them, but you know it's been hinted at them. I think that was a huge, huge waste, because I would have loved to have seen them come back and actually be this fight for Ash, and Ash turns around and says, I've got to try and beat you. But then maybe when he gets to the point, Team Rocket disband, and that's when Jesse and James go off. And Meowth as well, don't forget Meowth. But it just feels like Team Rocket was a complete waste, and they just didn't need to be in it. Reference them, that's it. But again, that's what really irritated me. So I like Jesse and James and Meowth. I really want them to progress, and they do beat Ash in Sun and Moon. But again, they didn't need to be in this film, and that's a really sad thing because I wanted them to have a bigger role. Why didn't you guys have a bigger role? I mentioned in this film that it was trying to be season 1 and the film to begin with, and it tried to put everything in. So you saw that the Charmander was there, you saw that Butterfree evolved from Metapod and went off with his girlfriend, and it felt like everything was kind of rushed. It was more, we've got to tell the story really quickly, otherwise we'll lose you. You know, you won't be interested, and obviously we've got to try and fit everything into one. And even the emotions, like when I saw Butterfree fly away with his mate and Ash like crying, I had no connection because in the film you saw Caterpie really briefly, then you saw Metapod really briefly, and then suddenly it was like, oh, Metapod's here, oh wait, then Butterfree is evolved into Butterfree, and there wasn't enough time, there was not enough for me to become emotionally attached because it just kind of focused around Charmander. Now this again, I was very kind of really weirded out a little bit because when they find Charmander on the rock, and he's waiting for Damien, but they've replaced Damien's name with Cross. Cross is a bit of a dick, that's fine, I can understand that. But to me, this felt like the whole story was about Charmander. The thing reminded me that the main Pokemon it focused on was Charmander to Charmeleon to Charizard, and that's it. You know, Squirtle, you know, Bulbasaur, they don't get a look in whatsoever. There's an Ivysaur, but, you know, and then there's a Squirtle and Wartortle, and at the very beginning of the thing you see a Blastoise. But again, it just felt like everything was evolving around Charizard, and I didn't like that. I know he's a fan favourite, obviously through the Pokemon brand. It's not always just Charizard, Pikachu, you know, it's about the others. And I felt like this really annoyed me a lot. And it could have been better. It could have been implemented better. So when I mentioned about the first film, it's when like all the Pokemon are attacking each other. So you have this new Pokemon, I can't remember its name right now, and it takes control of all the other Pokemon. It makes them attack the humans because the legend of Ho-Oh is like this Pokemon will seal up all the bad stuff, and it sees that the humans are evil, so it sends all the Pokemon to attack. You have them all attacking Ash, and obviously that reminded me of when they're all on the sidelines. And another thing, I've gone off topic, I've gone off script now. I'm ranting, Mark, I'm ranting. It gets to the point in the first film, Ash gets turned to stone, and that has a huge, like, emotional reaction. You see it all the time, like, my feels, like, my childhood, and you see memes about this. I feel like they tried to recreate it, but rather than having Ash turn to stone, he disintegrates. And then in the next scene, he's running towards the portal, and then he's fine. It felt like there is no scene, like there is not enough time passing for this, and this really kind of made me go, oh, okay, cool, I'm okay with that, I don't particularly care about Ash. You know, he did the brave thing, he jumped in front and took the blast of all the Pokemon, but again, One other thing I've just thought of now, which isn't on the script, is when he fights Ho-Oh, this whole film, like this entire whole film is based around Ash fighting Ho-Oh. You know, he's got the rainbow wing, he goes on this journey, he says he can't wait to battle him, and when you see the battle, it's about a few seconds, and then the camera's just panning out, it's like, boo, boo, boo. There is nothing there. So you kind of think that they would have focused like the last few minutes or something, or shortened something else, or taken something out. You could have taken all of Team Rocket's stuff out, could have taken it out completely. And then that's it. You could have had a big battle with Ho-Oh, which would be interesting. But you don't even get rewarded. It's like the audience is like, Ho-Oh's coming. You're gonna get a battle with Ho-Oh. You're gonna see Ash versus Ho-Oh. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. And it isn't. It's like, boom, done. Why did I do that voice? I don't know. I liked it. And that kind of really spoiled it, because then it's like Ash and the others are like just leaving. It's like, oh, see you later. It's so much fun. I'm like, what was the point of that? What was the point of it all about Ho-Oh? It could have been about someone else. Could have been about someone else. Let's get back on track. I do generally think that this film could have been better. When, again, I wrote this, I always thought about it could have been Ash. He meets Misty, Brock. He then obviously goes through all the gyms, and then he becomes the Pokemon League champion. And then I thought, well, that's kind of very similar the way of Pokemon Origins, which was good. It obviously had that element of, you know, Red goes against all the gym leaders, becomes a Pokemon Master, like League Champion, and then obviously, you know, he goes around catching all the Pokemon. I would have loved to have seen something very similar, but Ash actually winning the league, and then obviously then he gets to fight Ho-Oh after that, and then it shows like more adventures that could have happened. I think that would have been a really nice way of saying, hey, happy anniversary, this is what's happening. But I generally, when watching this, just it felt like he's met these two new people, he's gone along, and it could have been like the Sun and Moon film, or it could have been the one after that. It just didn't feel like a look back or a feel on this, and this really kind of made me go, oh, I was really looking forward to it. And I have to say, this is possibly my favorite Pokemon movie so far. I do think it could have been Executor done properly. See it? Yeah, I made a joke. I don't know if it's funny. It just popped into my head. Just the writing itself could have been 10 times better in my eyes. It was just the same generic stuff that we always get. Ash starts a lesson, he meets new friends that aren't in it, and then all of a sudden, like, he's learnt a lesson and he doesn't catch any Pokemon. You know, it could have been really interesting that you could have seen Safari Zone as well. Again, this is not a thing I thought of, but I'm thinking all these things. You could have seen the Safari Zone. You know, you could have seen them catch all the tourists. You could have seen all these adventures that they weren't able to implement and put in. They could have done it this way. The one thing I was going to make a video on this at some point, this video is getting too long for a review. One thing I didn't touch about is Pikachu's voice. The whole where he speaks to Ash, and it's like, because I wanted to choose you, or something like that, or because I wanted to stay with you. That didn't need to be put in. I could understand if Pikachu was going to talk to Ash all the way through, or after that was talking to him. But it just felt like, I don't know why they put it in. You know, they could have just put subtitles in. They could have made him on Pika-Pee, and then Ash knew it. But it just feels like that was for a shock value, and I didn't like it. I thought, well, you know, why not have Pikachu speak from now on? You know, everyone's saying, oh, it's in Ash's head or something. But no, I think that if you've put that in, either keep using it or don't even bother putting in. And, you know, it could have been the point where, you know, they get back up and it's like, come on, Pikachu, let's do it. It's like, okay, Ash, let's do this. I think this is cool. Yeah! You know, something like that. That would have been a lot better. But for this, I think that they could have edited it out and just been completely different. Again, shock value, that's all it was. So let's talk about the characters. When you see the characters, you see glimpses of Gary at the very beginning. Then you see the other Pokemon trainers. That's kind of cool. But I kind of really wish that Cross was Gary, because it makes so much sense to actually have Gary as the rival rather than have him briefly there in the same sort of getup and then he's gone. You know, you could have played on that one. That would have been cooler than anything. But no, Cross had to be Damien. Damien was the original name in Pokemon. And he had a different accent. It's like, Charmander. Oh, left that Charmander on the side of the road. I don't like Charmander. You know, he's a weak Pokemon. Or something like that. But Cross sounds American. I've got to admit, out of all the characters as Ash's rival, I would not have picked Cross. I would not have put as Damien. That is really weird, but it's kind of cool at the same time. But again, I would have just replaced Damien with Gary and just left it that way. Variety reminded me of Misty. So again, you could have just put Misty in that one. And then Sorrel was pretty much Brock. I want to be a Pokemon professor, Pokemon breeder. It was just exactly the same. And it just feels like, obviously, they didn't want to put Brock or Misty in. I don't think I saw a glimpse of them. So if they did, please tell me whereabouts in the film so I can see it. But that was it. It was just like, you've just basically taken the characters and then gone, boom, here we go. They're exactly the same. Cross, again, as I say, should have been Gary. And Cross is a bit of a dick. And that's pretty much it. As again, Team Rocket didn't need a part in this. And I find that really bad. I would have loved to have seen them in this. But again, they weren't in it. And that's really, really sad in my eyes because I really want to see them battle. But again, I don't know why. And please, like, can we stop having them just blast off all the time? Just, if you don't want them in there, don't put them in there. Just leave them out for the next film and be like, oh, well, they're off doing a secret mission. Just don't. Oh, it just annoys me that Team Rocket aren't in it properly. So, what made this interesting for me? To be honest, the animation, I really liked it. The battling, that was done differently. I really liked that. And the whole different dimension thing, you know, the whole element of this film, the different dimension, and then obviously you've got the school dimension. The emotion in Ash was okay, but there was no emotion in anything else. It's like, oh, you see Ash being sad, but then there wasn't anything to make the audience feel sad. And that to me was a bit kind of like, oh, they could have put it in, but that, just the emotion that Ash showed at times. But yeah, those are the main things that kind of made it interesting for me. My final thoughts. This film is possibly the best Pokemon film I've seen. I really did enjoy it. I enjoy it more than the others as canon. But there are so many things that I wasn't particularly a fan of, and then some that I was. I generally think it could have been done better. As I said before, I would have loved to have seen Ash go from choosing Pikachu to actually finishing at the Pokemon League, actually going against Gary. But again, I know that would be more Pokemon Origins. But I would have maybe liked to have seen maybe Ash's journey. Make this film a bit longer so you could incorporate Indigo League and then the Orange Islands and have it that way, move it across. That I think would have been really cool. But again, you've got to tell a story of how Ash began. But then you've not mentioned the fact that he catches Bulbasaur, Squirtle. You know, these things could have been put in as in like snippets that you see as in Ash training, he catches Caterpie. You could have had these things in and Ash would have had more Pokemon. But it just feels like the whole thing was focused around Charmander and Pikachu, and that was it. You know, you don't really see much of Caterpie, Metapod, or even Butterfree, but you see the elements of them leaving, and I'm just like, oh, they could have done so much more with it. There's so many missed opportunities. And again, Team Rocket not being there and just being kind of like left as side characters, that I didn't like either. I think that they could have done a lot better and used a lot of the older Pokemon. Obviously with Cross having the Pokemon from Sun and Moon, I just generally thought, why would you have the Fire Cat? The one with pelvic fire thrust? Like, to me, I would have left that one out and I would have had him have something like quite hard to actually get hold of. Something like, I don't know, he could have had, I don't know what Pokemon. Could have had a Kangaskhan. You know, something that was pretty much the same. Or he could have had a Charizard and Ash could have had something else. Again, these are things that they didn't put in that would have made more sense to me. As I said, I like the animation, the delivery between Pikachu and Ash through their relationship straight on. You know, the first part of the film was actually quite like, oh yeah, cool, I remember this, even though there's some slight changes. So it did remind me little bits of my childhood, and I liked remembering little parts of it, but apart from that, I just wasn't a big fan of some of it, but I still think this is by far probably the best Pokemon film they've done. If you're going to be getting this for your collection, I highly recommend it. It is a decent watch. I don't think I'd watch it again, but I'm glad that I experienced this thing. I would have kind of liked to have seen it in the cinema, but I think I would have been a little bit disappointed. But still, again, I think it's quite good. I'd either get this on Blu-ray or DVD just to kind of celebrate the fact that this is an anniversary film. It is different and there are some really good parts, as I've mentioned. So many good parts and then there's so many kind of bad parts at the same time. But in all, this is a nice film to watch. It's possibly like a one film that you could watch and then possibly watch it like a few years later. Be like, oh cool, let's just remember what happened. Or to kind of introduce someone or kind of say, this is a different version of it, etc, etc. So Rangers, what did you think about this? Did you like it? Did you not? What were your favourite moments and what parts didn't you like? Do you agree with what I say or did you disagree with what I say in the video? Did I bring up some good points? Did I bring up some bad points? Let me know down below in the comments, and if you've liked this video, like, favourite, comment and subscribe. Check out all the other videos on the channel. If you want to help support the channel on Patreon, link is going to be in the description down below. And as always, Rangers, thanks for watching and I'll see you in a bit.